Hi, I'm Gary Chris with SaniServ. Today we're going to be talking about the daily operation of your machine. One thing to remember when using one of our machines for the first time, we coat the inside of the mix pan, the inlet tube, the barrel, and all parts within with a vegetable-based oil to stop corrosion. It needs to be taken apart and cleaned as I'm about to demonstrate. When you sanitize our machine, it needs to be charged immediately. You can't do it hours ahead. If you do, bacteria will be reintroduced. Another thing is I'm going to be demonstrating the bucket hangers that we sell. It's not mandatory to use it, but it sure makes life easier. The thing to remember is before putting it on the machine, please sanitize it. Remember, I'm just demonstrating general sanitization guidelines. You need to check with your local health code to see what's applicable in your area. One thing to remember about this whole process is the first step is to wash your hands thoroughly. Last night the machine was taken apart, it was clean, the parts were allowed to air dry overnight. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to put this together. We have a dasher here, and in the dasher goes the stator rod, and attached to that are going to be the two scraper blades, and also taken apart and cleaned is the rear seal. But the first thing I do is I get a little bit of lube, which we also provide with the machine. I'm going to put a little bit of lube right behind the square head. I'm also going to put a little bit on the end here. Smear it around with your finger and insert it into this hole. That's all there is to putting this together. Next thing I'm going to do is grab the two rear seal parts. Very important every night that the rear seal comes apart. We need to get all the bacteria out from under this seal area. So you have the rubber boot, you slide it with your fingers down to where it needs to go on. You take your two index fingers, run it around, and it's together. It's that simple. The next thing we're going to do is put lubricant, 3 pencil eraser sized little blobs, right on this seal, right on the shoulder of the dasher. It's very important that you get no lubricant at all on this rubber seal. It's a static seal. Any lubricant on there will allow it to spin. It turns into a drill and will eventually drill through the back of the barrel. So just 3 pencil eraser sized blobs right there. You push it on like this, rubber seal to the back, give it a little spin, it's ready to go. Next thing, scraper blade. Now, daily when you do this, there's a little wear line that you want to be able to see and feel right here. If your blades are worn to where you can't see or feel this wear line anymore, it's time to replace them. There's 2 flats on this scraper blade bar, and the reason they're there is that so these scraper blades, if you push them on with the flats, they easily slide on and then lay over on the dasher tabs. When you're putting our machines together, if something's going together hard, you're not quite doing it right. Hold on to the stator rod. Don't put the blades on top. Gravity will win and they fall down and it won't go in easily. So again, rotate it so the blades are on top, lay them down flat, push it back into the barrel until you feel it hit. Give it a slight spin until it engages. Okay, next we're going to put the front plate assembly together. You get your 2 O-rings, roll the first one in, take the second one, roll it right over that, into the second slot. Okay, next you want to put some lubricant on both O-rings. Then you want to take your finger, smear it around, work it down in a little bit, around both of them. And then what's left, rub in between. So you get a good slick area where the seal is. Next, we need to take the lubricated plunger assembly. What's important about this is to align this hole in the plunger up with this slot in the front plate. And the first O-ring will go on very easy. As soon as you feel resistance, what I want you to do is twist as you go on. As you twist going over that O-ring, it makes it last longer. We line up the hole, grab the handle and the fast pin. The handle goes in, the fast pin goes down through. Shut the assembly and it's ready to go in. Put the front plate seal onto the front plate. Drop it down into the slot, work it around with your fingers, and a little bit of back spin here allows it to roll right in. Now the front plate assembly is ready to go on. We're going to insert the square stator rod head over here into this square recess. Okay, when you're putting this together, you feel resistance before you put the knobs on. Look from the side and you should see a gap between the black front plate seal and the barrel. Now you put on one knob at a time, just barely starting it. It's a pretty tight fit between the barrel and the plug on the back of the front plate. So we don't want to lock one side down and then force the other. So what you want to do is gently rock it in. So a couple of turns back and forth on each one until you get up and it gets fairly tight. And then if you look from the side, you'll notice that that gap is completely gone. We have a good seal. Yep. Okay, next you need to get your mix pan agitator and look at it. If people drop it in a sink, these become bent. They're very easy to bend back into place. They need to be straight up and down from the front and the side. If they're all bent in, it loses the bulk of its ability to keep the mix turbulent in the pan to allow all the coolant to work properly. So we'll turn it over, put just a little bit of lubricant right on the center, look inside the pan for where the swirl marks are, drop this right down on top. That's ready to go. Next we need to put the carb tube together. There's a thin O-ring that was cleaned the night before. It should be in the tray. It slips in the groove. Also just a little bit of lubricant. Now at this point we do not want to assemble it into the mix inlet hole. All we want to do at this point is get this sanitized, so we're going to lay it in the pan. We have different types of carb tubes, but as far as how to clean them, where to put the O-ring and how to lubricate them, when to insert them into the machine are all the same. We provide a non-chlorine sanitizer liquid with our machines from a company called EnviroClean. You want to add 4 pumps of this to 2 gallons to cold to lukewarm water. Mix it up thoroughly. It's ready to use. You want to make sure that your spigot is closed. We're going to dump the 2 gallons of warm pre-mixed sanitizer into the machine. After the sanitizer is in, we're going to turn the selector switch to the clean out position and let it agitate for around 2 minutes. Remember, when you're sanitizing this machine, always turn it to clean out. If you turn it into the auto position, the refrigeration will come on. It will freeze the sanitizer water and damage the machine. Okay, for all of our different models, we make what's called a bucket hanger. The last thing you ever want to do to our machines is hang anything from these handles. It puts all the pressure on this little plastic area up here and will eventually crack out. It can do even more damage internally if done enough over time. The machine's been running for a couple of minutes. I've shut it down. Remember, never stick anything in the mixed inlet tube or through the front plate opening while the machine is running. Personal injury and machine damage may occur. I'm going to take the brush we supplied, go down through the inlet hole, I'm also going to go around the sides here, getting sanitizer everywhere. So we get a bucket, we hang it from the hanger, and we're going to drain everything we can out. Reach inside while it's draining, grab your carb tube, shake it off, just set it on top. I even turn on the dasher into clean out one more time to get the rest out if you can. Okay, the next thing you want to do is remove the bucket off the hanger. Okay, we have most of the sanitizer out of there. The next thing is I like to get a big cup, pour some of your mix into it. Okay, we're going to chase out the remaining sanitizer with product. So we want to hang a bucket up here again on the hanger. Take some mix in a clean cup. We want to chase it all the way around the inside of the pan until you get it all the way around. Just use a little to do this. I'm going to go to the front and dump the rest. You'll notice that it's heavier than the water and the sanitizer. It chased it out. It's also going to chase it out from the bottom of the barrel. And because this mix was at 200 parts per million, what little bit is left isn't going to hurt anybody. I'm going to hold this open until I see it coming out the same color, the consistency that it went in. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the carb tube out. I'm going to get mixed, and what I want to do is fill it to a point after it stops bubbling that it is just above this mix out probe. It needs to be filled to a point above that mix out probe so that the machine will work. The mix out probe is just barely covered, which is what I want. I'm going to insert the sanitized carb tube into the inlet hole, and you're ready to go. Okay, we have the mix filled just above the mix out probe. At this point, all we need to do is get the bucket out of the way, the bucket hanger off. We flip to auto. The machine's ready to run. The reason we filled the mix pan just above the mix out probe is it gives you the opportunity to use all the rerun you can from the night before. Anything that was drained out of the machine the night before and has had a chance to thaw out, you can mix 50-50 and consume it in the machine after it's been charged with fresh mix. It's very important that we charge it with fresh mix. And once a week, the bacteria chain from the rerun needs to be completely dumped. That means everything that's been in the machine or that's been through the machine already and is in the walk-in needs to be thrown out so that the bacteria chain is broken. After you sanitize it, you start with fresh mix. Okay, it's the end of the day. It's time to tear the machine down and clean it. So the first thing to do, flip it down into clean out for a couple of minutes. Let it thaw out a little bit. It makes dispensing a little easier. I'm going to remove the top cover, put on a bucket hanger, because again, you do not want to hang buckets from this handle. You'll wind up cracking the front plate right in here, and over time it can do even more damage internally. Put my bucket in place on its hanger. Reach in, grab the carb tube, get this O-ring off. If you take a rag, you pinch on both sides, leaving extra room down below. Push up, it comes right off. Got this off, I'm going to put everything that I take apart into a bucket to go back to the sink to clean. I've got everything dispensed out that will come. If you put this into a pre-cleaned and sanitized bucket, I should have said that initially, you can put this in your walk-in, let it thaw out overnight, and use it as rerun the next morning, mixed 50-50 with fresh product after you charge the machine with fresh product. Next thing I'm going to do is dump a couple of gallons of lukewarm water into the top. With the machine still off, remember, never stick anything in the mixed inlet tube or through the front plate opening while the machine is running. Personal injury and machine damage may occur. Take your brush, go down through the inlet tube, turn the machine into cleanup, hang your bucket, get a towel or a dish rag, get everything off the sides that you can. Dispense this 2 gallons out. Okay, I'm going to shut the machine off, close it, dump this 2 gallons, and repeat the process. With the machine still off, I'm going to clean the inlet tube one more time with the brush. Flip it into clean out. And drain what's in here. Okay, this is drained. I'm going to shut the machine off. You need to get a container that will stay on without the hanger. We're going to take apart the machine now. Sometimes if your hands are wet, it takes a rag. And basically I do it the same way. To get it started, a couple turns on each side until it gets going. Remove the front plate. Some water will drain, so you need to have a container to catch it. It won't be very much, so the drip tray will support it. You take your handle vertical, pull the pin, pull the handle, pull the spigot plunger out. Again, you go back to the dry rag, and you want to take the back one off first. If you take the front one off first, the problem will be that you'll roll the back one onto the front. Same thing, pinch and push. You can roll it off at that point. Same thing with the second one. Pinch and push, it puckers up, you can get it off. Another way to get these O-rings off, we have a new tool that's just become available. Just insert it down into the O-ring and it glides right out. You need to get this O-ring off, and typically a smack on your hand will get it enough to get it off. Pull the dasher assembly out. You can get the stator rod off. Both blades, remember you need to align it with the flats. We'll pull right off. The rear seal comes off. Then the rear seal needs to come apart. You need to get the rubber off the plastic because it all needs to be clean. The last part I want to get out is the mix pan agitator. Remember, it's delicate. These parts can get bent, but you can always bend them back straight again, both this way and this way. I want this gently set down into the bucket so that it doesn't get bent up. All of these parts that I've taken apart, including the lid and the drip tray, need to go back and be washed. You need to come back with a soapy rag, clean out the inside of the machine. You can get this brush that is provided with it, go back and clean way back into the machine, and then follow it with a soapy rag, clean it. It's important to let this air dry overnight, as well as your parts that you take back to wash. You can let them air dry in the parts tray that we showed earlier. Remember to include the knobs when you're washing the parts. When cleaning our parts, use a mild detergent and water only. Never use bleach, an abrasive soap, or a dishwasher on any SaniServ parts. And when you're cleaning the outside of the machine, just use a warm, damp cloth. Gently rub it, it will come off. It will keep the machine looking great for years. The other thing to remember is this is an electrical appliance. Never get the area too wet because you can cause electrical damage to the machine and to yourself. With our scraper blades, as I mentioned earlier, right through here, all the way across, about 1/8 of the way back, is what we call the wear line. When you can no longer see or feel this line, it's time to replace the scraper blade. This stator rod, part number 65633, needs to be replaced when you can see a groove right behind this square shoulder here. What happens is the dasher will wear into there, and particularly if you don't lubricate properly, but once the groove gets there, it allows the dasher not to run on center anymore, and you won't get the scraping action that you need. We recommend our spare parts kit, our tune-up kit 188220, every 6 months for a normal store, for a 24/7 store, or a high output store. We recommend this every 3 months. Included are all of the O-rings, the lubrication, a new set of scraper blades, the brush, and a rear seal. Our liquid sanitizer is part number 65634. As I mentioned earlier, we do sell bucket hangers for everything we make. The bucket hanger for your machine would be part number 109928. And you'll notice it is also, we put a protective coating on the inside so that your machine will not get scratched. If you need a new front plate, the part number is 65631-01. If you need a new spigot plunger, the part number is 105503. If you need the lube itself, we sell it in cases of 12. The part number is 1150. The shake carb tube is part number 108350. Fast pin to hold the handle is part number 64225. The handle is part number 65632-01. Our new O-ring removal tool is part number 65436.